What if I told you one of the most important factors and least appreciated factors in deciding on which EV to buy isn't the brand, the charging network, or even the price? It's the battery size. For years, EV buyers have been chasing bigger and bigger batteries, more range, bigger numbers, more time between charging stops. But does everyone actually need a 400-mile battery, or is a smaller battery a smarter choice for many consumers? In today's video, we're going to be comparing large and small EV batteries across four major areas: efficiency, convenience, cost savings, and the big one, range anxiety. Now, by the end of today's video, you'll have a much better idea which battery size makes the most sense for your lifestyle. So let's talk about that right now. Let's start with efficiency. EV batteries are heavy, and there's just no getting around that. And a larger EV battery pack can add hundreds of pounds over a smaller one. And as a general rule, the more weight your vehicle is carrying around, the more energy it takes to move it down the road. Kind of think of it as going hiking and having a backpack. A light backpack will consume much less of your energy to carry than one with a bunch of camping gear, a toolbox, and a gallon of water in it. Well, it's the same way for EVs. Because of this, smaller batteried EVs are among the most efficient EVs on the road today. However, it's worth noting that many of these longer range EVs that are coming out with these larger battery packs are remarkably efficient despite having these larger, heavier packs. Engineers have gotten really good at squeezing out every possible mile out of each kilowatt hour. But despite this, the smaller battery EVs are generally still going to be more efficient. And more efficiency means less energy used for each mile you travel down the road. And this means more money staying in your pocket. I actually have a video where I break down these benefits in much more detail. You can check it out right here. Now let's talk about convenience. And this is where larger battery EVs really start to shine. You see, the average American drives about 40 miles per day. And with a 250-mile EV, this would mean you only have to charge once or twice a week. But with a 400-mile EV, you could find yourself only charging once every week and a half, or even more in some cases. Now, that difference in charging frequency may not mean much to those of us who have access to home charging, but for people who don't, say, for example, people who live in apartments, the difference in that frequency of charging may mean the difference between getting an EV and not getting one. That level of convenience is really hard to ignore. And the reality of it is you get to spend much less time worrying about charging your vehicle and much more time simply enjoying your EV. Now, this can be particularly beneficial for people who have really busy schedules and just don't have time to spend worrying about charging. Next up is cost. And even though EV batteries have come down in price significantly over the years, the battery is still the single most expensive part of an EV. And as a general rule of thumb, the bigger the battery, the more expensive it is. And then the more expensive the vehicle is. Now, this definitely makes sense in one vehicle versus another, but even within the same model of vehicle, the long range version versus the standard range version could be a difference of several $1,000s. And this is real money that you're paying upfront for the vehicle. And if you don't use that extra range that often, it could be really difficult to justify the significant additional cost up front. However, if you do take a lot of road trips, this changes the dynamic a lot. You see, 80 to 90% of all road trips are 400 miles or less. And this is significant because home charging is significantly cheaper than public charging. I'll use myself as an example. I spend about 22 cents per kilowatt to charge at home. Whereas if I go on a road trip and have to stop at a DC fast charger, it's going to cost me anywhere from 50 to 60% per kilowatt, which is a major difference. Now, most of my trips are from San Diego to Los Angeles and back. And this round trip consumes roughly 60 kilowatts of energy. Now, if I had to spend the 55 cents per kilowatt for every mile that I drove, that would end up being $33. On the flip side, if I had a 400-mile EV, I would be able to make that entire trip on the charge that I had from home, which would then make the trip $13. So that's a real savings on a single trip, and I make that trip relatively often. That's a real value. That said, value isn't just measured by the price tag. For some buyers, the larger battery and longer range can equal a better overall ownership experience, which would justify the additional cost. I mean, after all, if you spend less time charging and have more flexibility and lower stress during your trip, many buyers could see this as money well spent. Don't forget, one, time is money. So there's a value to time. And two, you can't really put a price on peace of mind. So while smaller EV batteries win on pure economics, larger EV batteries win on ownership experience, convenience, and flexibility. So now we've reached the last category on our list and the main reason why people are looking for longer range EVs in the first place, and that is range anxiety. Now, whether EV enthusiasts want to admit it or not, range anxiety is a very real thing. Yes, it has gotten much better with the improvement in vehicle ranges and charging speeds. And yes, it has gotten much better with improvements in charging infrastructure, but it is still a real thing. Now, how much of it is justified varies. People who own EVs know that the anxiety is a little overhyped. But for people looking to buy an EV, this is a huge deal. The fear of running out of a charge and not being able to recharge terrifies them. And let's be honest, nobody wants to get stuck looking for a charger when you're already running late, right? And this is where a larger battery has a clear advantage because you are statistically less likely to find yourself in that position. This means more flexibility when you are in cold weather, extra traffic, or when there's a detour, or more flexibility when your spouse says, hey, I need to make 3 more stops I didn't tell you about, which is something I am way too familiar with. And here's something interesting and another really important piece of range anxiety. You see, since 80 to 90% of all trips are less than 400 miles, if you have a 400-mile EV, that means that for many trips, you don't have to stop at all. And here's one of the things for me creates, I won't call it range anxiety, but form of anxiety is when I have only one charger in an area and I pull up to it and it's like, God, I hope this charger works. Well, if you don't have to stop at a charger, it doesn't matter if it works or not. And even on trips that are greater than 400 miles, this additional range can still help with your route planning. Anyone who owns an EV has had this scenario where you roll up to a charger and it's in a remote location, so you don't have a lot of options. You may not have range to get to the next charger, and you show up and all the stalls are full and people are waiting for the charger. So now your options are play battery rodeo, where you check to see if you can actually make it to the next charger, or sit and wait for a spot. Having longer range EV puts you in much better position to still have range to go to the next town over and go to another charger. It also gives you the benefit of perhaps skipping a more expensive charger to have range to go to a cheaper charger. So you don't have to plan your road trips with military precision to try to get through the trip. If you've run into one of these situations, go ahead and hit that like button, comment below, and hit that subscribe button. Okay, with all that information under our belts, now we can get to the bottom line of all of this, and that is which battery is best for you? Well, a smaller battery EV is probably more appropriate for you if you mostly use it to commute, you charge at home, you want the best efficiency possible, and you want to have the lowest cost vehicle possible. Also, if you rarely ever take road trips. On the other hand, a larger battery EV might be more appropriate for you if you regularly travel long distances. You don't have access to home charging. You tow or carry heavy loads frequently, or you live in areas with very few charging options. And also, if you simply want the greatest amount of flexibility. For folks in those situations, the larger battery vehicle isn't really as much about the range as it is the convenience and peace of mind. So, in conclusion, which battery size is best is determined entirely by you and your driving needs. Smaller batteries increase efficiency and lower cost, while larger batteries offer convenience and flexibility. Now, the good news is you don't have to choose between two major posts far apart. In today's market, there are a ton of EVs that cover almost every part of the spectrum of range between 200 miles and 500 miles. And something I didn't hit up so much is charging speed. Higher charging speeds are being improved every day, and those help minimize some of the drawbacks of those smaller EV batteries. So, hopefully, the big takeaway you got from this is that the goal is not simply to get the longest range possible, but to get the vehicle that best matches your needs. So, let me know down in the comment section below, Which one would you rather have? A cheaper 250-mile range or a more expensive 400-mile range vehicle? And most importantly, include why down there. And hey, while you're down there, there's also the like, subscribe for 7 days. You got the hype button. You can hit that 3 times. That would be really great. And there's an Amazon affiliate link. Help support the channel. Doesn't cost you a penny. And right here is a video I think you really are going to enjoy. And thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.